Welcome back, viewers. I'm Frederick Noronha. This is Literary Goa, the program that looks at books and authors from Goa. The point I wanted to make is that if you're a naughty kid in class, doodling all the time when you're supposed to be or listening to what your teacher says, then you end up, you guessed it, as a cartoonist. With me today is Angela Ferrao, one of our cartoonists in Goa, who's done a lot of work and is widely noticed, especially online. Angela, tell us about how you got involved in cartooning. But before that, a word about your books, since this is a program on books.
Well, thanks, Frederick. As you know, I've authored and illustrated a book for children entitled Fulus Plays with the Sun. And it took me a while to get it published, but thankfully I was helped by the Directorate of Art and Culture and you, 1556.
They had a scheme that time, no, to encourage authors.
That was a real, like a breakthrough for people who couldn't, get a foot in the door in publishing. So it was a good experience, and to see your work and, to have it read and, what do you call it? Disseminated to all and sundry. So it was nice. It gave me a boost, I would say.
And then, of course, Pantaleon Fernandez's book, which you illustrated,
yes.
called?
Yeah, that was called Once Upon a Time in Goa. So that was another nice, good experience, I think, because it drew from all my childhood experiences as, living in Goa, coming in for holidays.
So Pantaleon, this engineer turned author, is describing what life in Goa was in the 70s when all of us were young and kids.
Right. And so it was very easy. The subject and the images flowed very easily.
Like what images?
Stories about a house in Goa. The kind of ambience and the things that we have, which we take for granted, but actually nobody really can add that flavor unless you are part of it. So,
unless you've experienced it.
Yeah. So a lot of things which were very rural, because Goa was that type of a place at one time. So it was nice. It was a good experience.
And then you contributed to this anthology called?
Drawing the Line. That was with Zuban. It started out as a call for women graphic artists to congregate and come up with their own stories relating to their struggles as women every day. So my story was about employment, which I struggled with all. I don't know. I think that's how I reached cartooning. I had so much time between jobs. So
you were in advertising first?
No, I was in multimedia.
Multimedia.
Yeah, I never was in advertising.
Okay.
So lots of visualizing stories, and so like a lot of unemployment. So I had a lot of time to cartoon.
That's the challenge with freelancing, no? You cannot get what you want. But we'll come to that later, and the challenges of being a cartoonist in Goa, and that will come to later.
Right.
But your Zuban contribution was how many pages, and it was on?
I think it was around 4 pages, and my story was about women versus men, which might be a very sticky topic for you, Frederick. But I thought from my observation that women have it maybe at one time harder to break into certain fields. Like a man need not have that many qualifications to get somewhere. While for a woman, she has to have 10 more steps for to get anywhere, and even then it's not good enough. That's my experience.
So Zuban is quite a prestigious.
It's a feminist publication, as I'm told.
Mainstream feminist. Right?
Yeah. So finally, it was picked up by a Canadian publication, and
did it produce there?
Yeah.
Your work.
Yeah, the entire book.
The entire book.
The entire book.
Interesting.
Was sold.
Interesting. And apart from this, you have also contributed to Himal. You have done covers for Call. Am I right?
Yeah, and I've done a lot of work for academic magazines. Some PhD scholars think that I have an opinion which might find its way into their thesis. So, opinions and flow freely.
How did you get into cartooning? Was my story accurate when I said that you were doodling in class?
Yeah, it was not off very.
Not very off.
No. It was spot on actually, and lots of like I said, no, I wasn't kidding. A lot of unemployment gave me a lot of time to hone my skills, observations.
In multimedia in Mumbai in the 90s?
No, now in 2000.
Okay.
90s, graphics was just breaking in, and we had a lot of work then.
In 2000s in Mumbai?
Yeah.
You came to Goa later?
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry, I interrupted you. So you actually were distracted in class? You loved drawing more than the subjects?
No, it's very difficult to, everyone doesn't have the same attention span. So, it's difficult. You're always told to pay attention, and it's not, everyone can't be a good teacher, right? And everybody can't be a good student either.
Not in all the subjects at least, yeah. There are some we are going to hate, and sometimes...
No, and I would say the same for the teachers. You have to hold the attention of the student, right? So today I say you were a bad teacher, I was a good student.
Okay, that's a cartoonist speaking. We won't get into that area, but okay. At what point did you realize that you loved art?
There was no point. It was something I was naturally good at. Nobody, needed to tell me that. I felt like doing it, so I did it. And, that's how it goes, Someone coming and telling you you're good doesn't make you do something or not. Right?
What are the subjects you naturally gravitate to? I know environment is one of them.
Whatever catches my attention, and if I find something I could poke some fun at and make a point also, it's nice. I don't leave a stone unturned.
Run us through some of your cartoons. I find this one on the screen to be particularly fascinating. It's just blacks and whites.
These are toilet rolls, because when the pandemic hit us, the only news that was coming out of the world was there was less toilet rolls. So
which was odd now, of all things.
So you're at home, so you need all the toilet rolls. I thought, wow, because that's what was flying off the shelves, so that's what I did.
Very neatly drawn.
And this is my comment on tourism and Goa.
Misbehaving and streaking on the beaches and vehicles on the sands.
Yeah, but they get a better leeway than us. Because if we gather, we find, suddenly we are, beloved by the cops. So another thing is a commentary, of course, is the excessive urbanization, rampant, I would say, where people are actually moving to Goa to, have a better quality of life, a little bit nature, and what we are doing is, giving them the same. What they left, we are giving them the same, and both are party to it, because they're moving into places which also were green. So,
they're concretizing the very place, killing the golden goose that
exactly.
Came for.
This is my commentary on village life and history and identity, where, as people who come from a place, who have roots in a place, no matter what you do, you're never known by who you are. Like, you would be known by your father's name or your aunt or whoever has been there before you. So, I went to this clinic and this doctor has a super specialty clinic, but they said, oh, you're Godino's son, you want good. So I was very amused by that. It struck me that, and this, of course, is the changing feathers, which we are it's a common thing in Goa.
Political feathers?
Yeah, so...
I like your drawings. I like the contrast, and I like the kind of effect you get. You are using a Wacom tablet.
Right.
That is.
Yeah.
How do you describe the Wacom?
It started with the bamboo, which you encouraged me to use. I was so reluctant to, but
I've never seen these things. Strangely, I've only read about it, so I just said.
Because I thought, okay, I must give it a go, and it really worked out very well for me. First with the bamboo, which had wasn't that high end, but now I'm using the Wacom, which has a sensitive nibs, and so it's really good. So most of the time I sketch directly, or I
on the screen,
scan, or I draw and scan it
on the screen.
Yeah, I have a tablet.
Tablet.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do the covers for Call. I've been doing them recently, so I am very proud of my contribution.
Call is this magazine, by the way, from the Pilar Society of Francis Xavier, SFX priest.
Right.
And in our youth, it was a very vibrant magazine, and it has been revived now. It's also available online. So you do the covers, and they give you a theme. And how does it work?
Yeah, I get the editorial and just a loose, what we want to show, and then if they are done with the editorial, I read it and I do it. So this was on women, but yeah, it was nice. But the article didn't mention anything which were related to
sports.
Yeah.
But that's your interpretation.
Yeah.
Very interesting, no? That a magazine, a youth magazine from Goa, should decide to put an artist or a cartoonist on the cover. Which brings us to the point. Do you feel that cartoonists get the value that is due to them today or not? Because in the 80s, 90s, there used to be a lot more cartooning in the Goa papers. Today it's a small thing, right?
Yeah, I think people finally, or maybe the powers that be, woke up to the possibilities of how subversive maybe cartoonists can be. So they've clamped down on us and the pockets. Of course, the drawstrings have tightened. So it's like a two-way
Cartoonists
street.
can be very subversive, and
you have to be, right? I mean, it's not something you make up. We do things from observation.
And emotions are strong, no?
Yeah,
in a cartoon,
of course.
there are strong emotions.
That's why we do it. So, I mean, if you like it or not.
How have you seen cartooning changing in India and Goa over the decades? Maybe 80s as a youngster, 90s, 2000s, and now.
I liked Alex's work when he started out, because that was I mean, we saw Lakshman's cartoons, which were nice, but we couldn't, not relatable for us. But when these cartoons were on Herald, and it was so blunt and blunt force. That was interesting that you could.
He got a lot of space
like
also, and
right.
Herald in those days.
Like, wow, you can do this, because we didn't have that much of exposure.
Herald in those days under Rajan Narayan gave him a lot of space. And of course, like the saying goes, all cartoonists come from Shioli.
Something about the place, maybe.
So you liked Alexi in his early stage, and who else were the? There were many at the pan-India level, no? Abu Abraham and quite a few.
But we were kids at the
them.
time, so we didn't really see, and it was only like late 80s that we started noticing these things, because it was quite a big strip. I mean, he had a lot of space, right?
Yeah.
On the front page, I think.
Yeah.
So, and it was Goa, so it was like we could relate to it, because we could see the things happening.
At the Bombay level, anyone you admired? Mario?
Mario was more in our Bal Bharati books.
Everyone says that. Pune board.
Yeah,
we also had
lovely cartoons. But no, I didn't see Mario as a political cartoonist.
Okay. Maybe because he was in the Economic Times and things like that, no? Sequestered in the business press. At that stage.
There were good cartoons around which were humorous. Talking about the Bombay life. And
there was this lady cartoonist, I forget her name, maybe in Sunday Observer or something like that. It'll come. Interesting.
Madhu something?
No.
Madhvi. Something like that.
Yeah. Something.
Okay, but I'm not aware of her work.
Yeah. So and I think certain editors gave more importance to cartoons than others. Probably Vinod Mehta was one of those.
Oh yeah.
Every publication he was in had a good spread of.
Yeah,
cartoons.
you need that kind of space. Like even with the Call, I get a lot of space with what I want to show, because my latest cover, I really enjoyed doing it, because it doesn't hide.
It's right out there in front and up front and.
So it's kind of like my cartoons only. So I love doing it.
Interesting. And of course, the point you're making is that for a cartoonist to flourish, you need the space.
Oh yeah. You need the space. And
it's increasingly, getting tough to get that space.
Yeah, I mean, but you make the space, right? Because certain things you're not allowed to show on
in print.
And then sometimes you think, okay, I can't show this. Like for example, I have a cartoon which I've done, which says Church and State. So that cannot fly on on every magazine. So then you use some other elements to make your point. Like I've done it in in another cover. So the point is there, but it's subtle, right? Because you have to find a way to express that also without calling attention. And
you also have your own WhatsApp group where you work very hard through the night and send out your work.
yes, I do not work hard in the night because I'm awake anyway. So
Nightbird.
yeah,
Nightbird.
yeah. So I just share it online. So whoever, even if one person likes it, or that's been my thought,
Yeah.
even if a few like it, it's good enough. I mean,
So if you had the choice, what would be the fields you were working in cartooning? One would be environment, obviously. One would be the changing face of Goa, which you have,
Right.
which all of us have strong
extensive
views about, no?
yeah.
And what else?
Language is one of them, which is I've not done much on it, but it is something which is I think a very pressing issue, where because language and identity are so connected, right? You cannot ignore them.
You incorporate Romy Company in some of your work.
I do. I pester a lot of people to
Get the
help me
words
get
right.
the words and the spellings right. So I have some good people who have helped me, correct my grammar or spelling. So yeah, I try to do it if it is possible, which might relate to people who know Romy.
And in terms of subjects, politics, of course, everyone feels a lot of ire towards being led down by the political class, and cartoonists more so than others.
But being let down is if you are up, right? There is no up. It's only down.
Yeah, maybe I'm being economic
You're
with my words.
being very nice.
So, okay. What else? What are the subjects? Sports?
Sports, I'm not much of a big fan. I do it when the World Cup comes around, then I become a football buff, which is like, I religiously sit and do stuff on the football World Cup. I've done it in the past times. But yeah, mostly it's political or the environmental. And mostly types of things which, where I find someone may not have a voice. Like I've done a small reportage on this man named John Dias. He was a promising footballer. I read, and he goes to the US, and then he becomes a victim of this gun violence. And so the thing I'm trying to say is how that the opportunities for us are so few, that somebody has to a promising footballer.
Leaves Goa, migrates,
and goes to become a cashier in
and
some
then gets shot.
Southern town, right? Point blank for just being there.
Yeah.
And it's so common. So I thought, like, these kind of stories, I do a lot of like these graphic reportage.
Any interesting models of the use of cartooning for non-traditional uses outside the newspapers?
I can't say, because I do put my stuff on tiles and then
that
on
cup,
mugs.
tell us about the mug.
Yeah, I had this cartoon for quite a while, and then I've been thinking of putting it on a mug, and I was just wondering how it would look.
Turn it.
So this is my experience as an employee, a full-time employee, that you're just sitting for hours and you're just sitting there and there's nothing to do. So you're falling asleep, and then
you call your work
think
Ferrao designs.
Yeah, it's not as in designs. It's the design of in the thoughts, machinations, or whatever you may call it. So
interesting.
It came out good, but the problem here in Goa is the marketing and the availability of raw materials.
You don't have that much choices as you have in a big city.
Yeah, and I think everywhere the choices are just narrowing, Like, I go to ask for something and they cannot even source it. It's everything is out of Goa, and then everything's out of India. Even paper. Right?
You came to Goa in the year?
Oh my God, I can't place the year.
Early 2000s?
I think I
2001,
came.
2002?
Yeah, I've been in and out.
In and out. But shifted?
Shifting a long time. Shifted pre-pandemic.
Recently? 4-5 years? 5-6 years back?
Yeah.
How has the shift been?
Good. It's not been much of a bump because I've been mostly in Goa half the time. And
before that also?
Yeah. So it's not been a big leap for me.
Creativity-wise? Access-wise, no problem.
No problem at all.
Because you're not dealing with offices,
Yeah.
you're dealing through online.
Yeah, and I think, you're dealing one-on-one with the issues you're cartooning about somewhere else. So it kind of makes a difference also.
In the cyber world, there's no boundaries.
No, there's no boundaries, but there's also that, that vacuum where you're not really
There.
there. So it's nicer to comment on things which are immediate,
Close to
like
you.
I've done something on the Geary Road because I go down that
Correct.
road.
It affects us.
Yeah. So if there's anything that I can say that affects me, I can convincingly say I'm doing it because I feel that I've seen it.
So had you been in Bombay when it was a media capital, would you feel you would have got more opportunities like say Mario did or some bigger name did?
No, I don't think of those kind of things. I mean, each one has their own route to success or failure or whatever. Depends.
You define it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you keep doing whatever you're doing, right?
That's
and
true.
If it catches the eye of somebody, which, like, I mean, it was. I think the internet opened up a lot of opportunities. Things like Facebook,
Yeah.
because there's no gatekeeping there. You just put your work out, and if somebody likes it, it's there. Right?
What would be your words of advice to young people wanting to enter this field?
I would say go for it, because I mean, but you have to keep doing it, right? If you say it's not working, and that's not how it works. I mean,
you've got to keep trying, and you've got to keep striving.
I don't even say trying. It's just that you keep doing it because you like doing it, or you want to do it, or you have something to say. But if you're doing it because you have a end goal, you're going to be disappointed all the time, and that's not just for cartooning. You can be in any field.
That's true.
And if you're happy and you feel that, okay, I've done something which I like, and I feel I've put a message out which is whatever, it's good enough.
Plans for the future?
Future? Aren't we in the future? What future? I don't know.
Okay.
Take
it as it comes.
Yeah.
Take up new challenges.
Yeah, of course.
Any international cartoonists who have inspired you over the years?
I've liked Mad.
Mad.
And there's so many actually. When we were growing up, we had so many good
Mad magazine
illustrations. Mad,
for those who came in late, was this full of cartoons magazine of young adults.
Very inspiring and instructive. The drawings themselves were good, and the humor was, of course. I mean, more so than anything was the humor.
Yeah.
Which was we didn't really have that. Much of it here.
We've never had anything like that in India.
Yeah, that kind of irreverent humor, which wasn't bawdy and still interesting also. Yeah.
And in terms of local publications, there is this Comic Sense group and things like that who have tried to make things happen.
No, I don't know any sense or.
There are no networks in India to promote.
I don't know. I'm not plugged into any such groups because, I mean, once you're with a group, then you're like, you're stuck with them.
Yeah, it's you don't hear of too many also. See, we grew up with comics like Endeavour, Indrajal, and Phantom, and those kind of things.
And it was a
closed
field.
Yeah.
I mean, in the sense that everyone could access it.
But could everyone contribute to it?
No, see, forget the contribution. That has never always been gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm talking about the kind of comics which we could afford to buy.
Yes.
While today it's become a niche product. A comic has become a niche product, which used to be you could just go down and buy a comic for 1 rupee, 50 paisa, or 2 rupees, whatever the cost. It wasn't out of reach of common people. But today it's like you have to go to a fancy bookstore with the coffee and pay 500 rupees for that, stylized kind of cartooning, which actually I enjoyed the stories, like even Mandrake or Phantom. Like just the story and the illustrations were good enough. Even the commandos, westerns.
We had a lot of those, no? Romance.
Now looking back, vehicles of propaganda.
Yeah, but they were there, and they were quite catchy in that sense.
Yes,
although
and we read them, and they were so inspirational as an artist, because they were so good, black and whites.
Chandamama
Yeah.
was there, Amar Chitra Katha
Yeah,
was there.
they were still good. Now.
It was quite a world in those
And there was
days.
the Champak, which nobody, I mean, you wouldn't be seen reading a Champak, I think, because it wasn't so...
Upmarket.
Some, yeah,
It was down market,
Yeah,
positively
even
down
those,
market.
Yeah, that was the first of the down market sites. But we
Interesting.
had even chillers. There was one genre, chillers. It just disappeared, but the quality of the illustrations,
Really?
and colors are amazing. I would love to get my hands on one of them again. A beautiful paper and
After
amazing.
independence, there were some comics coming out of Africa, but they had photographs in them, not really cartoons.
Yeah, the photo
Yeah,
plays.
photo plays
They were
and-
quite decent, but not as engaging as a drawing, right?
Yeah.
Because you were looking at the photograph and, you know,
Now
they were
that
more
you
of a
mentioned
romance.
it, we grew up with a lot of visual works,
Exactly.
including
Yeah.
a romance for girls. No, there was
Yeah.
romance for girls and there
Yeah.
were commando for boys.
And what about the pop-up books, which you don't see anymore? You know, the pop-ups
Yeah.
where you have a whole, story which,
Okay.
you move this window and the mouse comes out
I
of
see.
There were beautiful books, but I think today that...
Anyway, on that note, it's so interesting to go back in time and to know what we grew up with and to reminisce about that. I'm sure that people like you can take us into this new future. Though there are a lot of challenges, and one is cost, one is getting it out to audiences. But you all have been trying, Angela. Wishing you all the best. Thank you for coming
Thank you,
here.
Frederick. Thank you.